All right. Good Monday, makers, and good morning. Hope everybody had an amazing weekend. And if you're in the chat, we'd love to hear from you. Say hello. Today, as always, I'm joined with Dave,
Good morning, makers. How's everybody doing?
and we're going to look at some builds. This is our new Monday morning tradition, and I love it. It's a great way to start the week. You can just grab a cup of coffee and check out some builds from the community and see some great ideas and just clever uses of things. We got a lot of good ones today. There's an aquarium light stand. We've got a hack for the connectors. We've got all kinds of builds. I think I didn't hold back this week. I chose 8, I think, 7 or 8. So we've got plenty to look at. So let's jump in and check them out.
And we're off to a prompt start at 9 o'clock.
Yep. There was no issues this morning with no technical issues. So we're going right at 9 o'clock. So let's jump in and check them out. This first build is an aquarium light stand built by Daniel. This is really cool. We've talked about light stands for gardening and things. We've never really seen a light stand used in this kind of sense, but I think it makes a lot of sense because we got this aquarium here, got some beautiful fish. It's a really nice
look at
aquarium.
that coral.
Yeah, beautiful. We got Nemo in there. And like ever since that movie, everybody just says the clownfish, or
Is that what it is, a clownfish?
I think so.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a beautiful aquarium, and they've got this light, and it looks like they've got a leg that they created. I don't know if that is conduit. I think maybe it's conduit, and then it goes up to a T. We're kind of, the connectors are kind of blocked there, but I would imagine it probably goes up to a T or maybe a 90 there, and then goes up. Then they're using T's at the top here to just add some horizontal pipes that kind of hang over the aquarium, and then they're just hanging the light over those. It's just got these loops on the end with some, I don't know what that is, just some kind of cabling, not cable, I guess, but some sort of strap that's just kind of hanging over the pipe, which is a really great way to do that. We saw that with some gardening light stands as well. If they have a hook already, then you can add shower curtain hooks, chain, different things like that, and just kind of utilize the nature of the pipe and just hang it straight from there. But looks like a really simple build. Just we can only see these 2 connectors, but I would imagine it's got to be connected going down to the floor freestanding. What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, it's awesome to see some aquarium builds. We've seen maybe just a few freshwater ones, but this is maybe the first saltwater aquarium build that we've seen. So I think it's super cool.
Nice. Yeah, I think we saw a pump stand in the past, like aquarium pump, like a stand for it.
That was my mother and
Oh,
dad.
that's right.
Yeah, they have they've always had fish and aquariums. Saltwater hasn't really been something they've gotten into, but they have a freshwater tank that's pretty big, and just needed a way on the side of the couch to kind of put the aerator and some other things, out of sight. So that worked out good for them. But yeah, we haven't seen as much aquarium builds, and the saltwater. I haven't really ever been into it, but people who take care of saltwater aquariums know how it's like the next level, right? The ecosystem is that much more sensitive. They got coral in there. Really pretty neat.
Nice. And this is the stand, I think.
Yep.
50-gallon tropical fish tank. It's
Right.
a really simple thing, but I guess is that the pump for it?
Yeah. That aerates the water, puts some air into the water, the bubbles, right?
Nice.
And just gets it out of the way.
And I could be way off on this, but I wonder, do you have to filter salt water? Probably so.
I have no idea.
I mean, it looks like there's something there, but I feel like salt water, I feel like I've heard something about it. I have no idea. So I'm
They're
not gonna
so
pretend to know.
sensitive, though.
Yeah.
We bought some fish for Bailey, and we
yeah.
went into this this store, and beautiful tanks. It looked like that, but they had their like prized, 100-gallon or more saltwater tank, coral and everything. And the thing he worried about most, the owner, we were talking to him, was people sabotaging his tank by dropping like different chemicals in it. And he had that happen to it.
Wow.
Where people came into a store and then just destroyed this ecosystem by putting a couple drops of something in the tank. So sensitive.
I wonder if those people felt guilty about it. It's kind of a fishy situation. Okay, sorry. Just had to throw that out there. But yeah, I can imagine that would, especially after it happens once, because you're always a little paranoid when you got a lot of people coming through your showroom all the time. Are they
Yeah,
gonna
it was terrible to hear about.
try to grab the fish and pick them up and that kind of thing? But especially if they're like coming prepared with chemicals to drop in there, that's pretty
Grab the
wild.
fish? Oh, like people grabbing fish?
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't think that'd work out too well.
yeah, probably not. But yeah, well, that's cool. Great build from Daniel. Really cool to see this light stand. Really appreciate you posting that. And it looks awesome. Good luck with the aquarium. Next up, we've got a build from Mark, and he said he's got a boat ladder, or he's got a boat, and then attached to that, he's got a boat ladder. And he said it has a diameter of about 1 1/8 inch on the ladder itself here. So he said he had to use or to modify the connectors a little bit. He's using the Pro Tees, as we can see there, and it's just a really simple addition because he said once they would swing this ladder down, and when people are climbing on it, they take a step or moving, just naturally the ladder is just banging up against the boat. So to prevent that, he just wanted to add some bump stops basically with the Pro Tees.
Ah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Anyone that has climbed up a ladder like that in the water knows how those things just like swing
Yeah.
under and are totally wobbly. That's cool.
Yeah, they just keep going on you. They make it kind of hard to climb because they're just
Right.
shaking and
Yeah, you feel like you're falling backwards when you
Mhm.
get on it.
Yeah, especially if it kind of swings up to the under the curve of the boat.
Right.
So yeah, it's a really smart addition. But he said this is a 1 1/8 inch diameter. It looks like it telescopes, which is cool. But this very top one is 1 1/8 inch. And he said he just modified the connector, and you can see the gap on the connector is pretty close towards the end, but pretty wide at the top. 'Cause, that's a pretty big stretch. I think the biggest we've tried that worked was 1.25 inches for the Pro Tees. So 1 1/8 inch. Wait.
Well, 1 1/8 inch is only 1.125 inch.
So I guess
is
it's less than 1 1/4.
Yeah, definitely less than 1 1/4.
True.
But what's 1 inch EMT?
1.163.
1.163.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So it's right there in the neighborhood.
Okay. I see the band still on there as well.
So yeah, I think it might actually be a little bit smaller.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that because this is 1 inch EMT.
Mm-hmm.
So that would make sense that this would be, the gap would be closing.
Right.
Because ideally you'd want to shim that down to 1 inch EMT or use another 1 1/8 inch pipe in there.
And it's surprising. We say this all the time. You would think there would be more of flexibility with the connectors, but they're actually, a small change in diameter really affects how they fit. So that's why we recommend using shims or bands, to kind of fine tune that fit.
Right. But we can see he did the 1 inch EMT coming out of the bottom there. He added some rubber pipe feet there.
Smart.
Yep. So basically now whenever he swings that down, both of those are just going to be touching the boat and just add some support. So
I love it. What a simple solution to a problem that a lot of people have run into.
yeah,
You
for
know,
sure.
and it has to be custom because you don't know how it's going to interface with the boat. Every boat's different, right? Like that whole thing is special. So, nice
And
work.
you have the ability to move this up and down, like Dave was saying, if you need this to be lower on this pipe or higher if you wanted to be up here. So yeah, that's really cool, really smart. Nice. Well, appreciate that, Mark, for posting that. Looks really great, and hope you have fun on the boat. Seems like people are get out on the boat more in this time of year. I mean, I guess with school, back to school, maybe not as much, but seems like in the summer and then towards the fall, people are kind of out on the lake. But I haven't spent a ton of time on the lake, so maybe I'm way off.
We got Gregory in the chat. Hey, Gregory, and then Dusty. He wants to see the 1-inch connectors in all available options. Promise they're coming.
Yep.
We've been working really hard on the tooling for all of those, so you can expect those, like the 45s, adjustable angles, flanges, all to come in over the next 6 months or so.
Nice. Good to see people in the chat. Thanks for coming by. And so thanks again, Mark, for sharing that. And let's go to the next one. This is a build. This is from Jason. This is a lawnmower that he has, and he sent in a couple of videos. He built a sunshade over top of the lawnmower. In these riding lawnmowers, usually they're associated with a large amount of land that you got to mow. So, the sun's out, you get baked out in the sun while you're mowing, but he built this canopy with conduit. So I think this video is kind of an overview of the top we can see. Let's look at the underneath first. So basically he's got conduit going up the rollover bar, the protection bar here on the back. And he's got conduit going up, and then it's bent, and then he makes basically a U shape around the front.
Okay, and it looks like are those U-bolts connecting the conduit to the posts?
I think he used conduit hangers. He gives us a close-up here. So this was a safety latch that he made, which is really clever.
Nice.
He drilled into the bar, then used one of those clips. I don't know what those clips are called, but he's got chain going up to it. But he's using the conduit hanger straps attached to the rollover bar to hold the conduit, at least on this side.
Yeah, I can see that. Nice.
I think
that might be a different attachment for something else.
Yeah, it looks like there's something else attached there. But I mean, I think U-bolts is another option for attaching in that way. But we can see that was the safety latch. This is kind of underneath, and then on top, he's got some plywood. Looks like that's like some vinyl siding material, maybe. I'm not sure. But some plywood that just basically sits on top, and then he's got bolts going through the conduit, through the plywood, with some washers and then nuts going around. That just kind of secures the top canopy portion to the framework.
Yeah, that's great. I was just checking out the DIY tractor canopy kit that we had that was sent in, and because it reminded me of it, like maybe it's definitely different, but same sort of concept, to attach a canopy to the rollover protection of tractor, lawnmower, whatever.
Right. It utilizes that bar that's already existing there.
Right.
So yeah, it's a really great addition to a mower or a tractor. It's really cool. Thanks so much, Jason, for sharing that. And two, I wanted to point out, you don't really have to do plywood and something like this, like we saw with the one that Dave was talking about. They used sunshade material, so it all depends on what material you have on hand or want to order, want to use. But if you've got a bunch of plywood laying around, it's a good option. But you would, he drilled a bunch of holes through the plywood and through the conduit. It seems like it's working great. So really cool. Thanks so much, Jason, for sharing that. Next up, we've got a mini build from Mark, and he said he's looking for critique or ideas of his desk. So right now he's storing, I love the mini, he's got a mini PC tower, the mini Xbox, Nintendo Switch, and the monitor.
Oh, wow.
It looks like he's using like a piece of mulch or, the small wood to kind of simulate the shelves and the wooden top. So really cool. But he said right now he's at the tower being stored on the left bay there, and then there's going to have a 30 by 60 tabletop with 2 shelves below for gaming systems. And I think I want to build an upright wooden backsplash on top, maybe mount a surge protector, dual monitor mount. He said he's looking for a way to make the bay on the right side. He said he's going to be storing his 3D printer on this side, and is trying to figure out a way to incorporate drawers and incorporate a kind of a top work surface for his Ender 3.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, so it's a really excuse me. It's a really great mini build. Looks like a great desk. And I don't know what it is.
I love this model with all the different things.
Yeah, it's really cool. I don't know what it is about desks, but I think desks are one of my favorite things to kind of build and modify.
Yeah.
I think just because I spend so much time at one.
Sure. It's where work and hobbies and play happens. It's like it needs to fit what you're doing. I definitely get it.
Nice. And I think this is a great model to start with. I mean, he's got I see a lot of 9-degree connectors in here, 135s, which is an interesting technique to kind of add not so much of a sharp edge on the corner, not just like a rectangle that comes to a point, but it's kind of curved there. Shelf underneath looks good, and then he said this side's where he's going to be adding the drawer. And I think I commented a couple options. We've seen people in the past use these before, which they just screwed, drilled a hole in the conduit and then just added these like you would to any piece of wood or something like that, and then built a drawer system in that way. So if you wanted to incorporate drawers into the pipes, I think that's possible. And I've also seen a lot of people get this from IKEA, which is just a simple drawer system. They have quite a few different ones. This is not the only one. But they make these, to be flat on top, so you can actually put your desktop on top of it. So I could see that being an option as well if you wanted to get some quick and easy drawers on that right side. And then you could just kind of put your, make the rest of the height of the desk match that. So then the top would sit on top on this side. Those are a couple ideas I had for incorporating drawers.
Yeah, I think that's good. With the amount of hardware and connectors and everything to pull off a drawer system made out of conduit, I think it loses its cost effectiveness. So like you're saying, incorporating a drawer system into your build, right? That has all the drawers, and they're so cheap. Or using those drawer slides is a really good one, because I think if you wanted a lot of drawers, going with that pre-built option's the best. Or if you wanted like one big, excuse me, you wanted one big drawer, you could put those drawer slides, and you can actually make like a drawer frame out of conduit that you can pull in and out from the exterior frame. So I guess it depends on what you're looking for.
Yeah.
On the 3D printer, we've done a lot of 3D printer stands and workstations. We've seen a lot of customer builds that have been 3D printed, and you really just need a flat surface incorporated into the whole desk. But one of the cool things is that you can then manage your spools of filament, and have different racks for those. And something in the past that we've seen is just two pipes parallel, and the filament sits right on there. So you can have a rack of all your filament. You can do a up top filament holder. I think there's a lot of added value that you could do with the filament on a 3D printer stand.
Yeah, for sure. Taking advantage of the pipes and the nature of the pipes. That reminded me of, I want to say it's Luke. I'm trying to see if I can find it really quick, of how he mounted the 3D printer.
That was one of the first builds we did for the Kickstarter, was a 3D printer stand.
Is it the white one?
The white one that I wanted. And that was just out of necessity. Worked great. I mean, it lasted for years and years. I had this old Zortrax 3D printer that was super expensive for the time. Now they're a couple $100, but it was a few thousand when we bought it. And it actually helped us prototype the initial MakerPipe connectors.
Nice. Yeah, that was back before 3D printing kind of took off. It kind of came mainstream.
Right. It was definitely a maker technology. There were people pioneering it, and then, now you buy it on Amazon for a couple $100, and the printers that we print our minis on, Ender 3s, they're less than $300 and work great.
Yeah, and we run them constantly. Definitely put them through their paces. But this was reminding me of this build from Jacob. So he's got this frame that he built for his closet that holds 3D printers, and he's attached them with. He's using some larger. I think these are, because I think I bought some of these after he posted this, and we talked about it in the pool noodle video.
Yeah.
But I think this is the one, because they do it by number, so it doesn't give you a size, but it's number one. I think number 1.5. Maybe that is the diameter. Regardless, he got some of these large conduit hangers or pipe hangers, put it over top of the pipe and this foam insulation, and then he's just got some washers stacked, and the bolt just goes through these aluminum bars here and into that conduit hanger. Yeah. So Dave was kind of saying that, and reminded me, even if you just had these pipes going across and you just use those to kind of elevate the 3D printer, not necessarily have to, cut another top or buy another top to put up there. You could just get a drawer system, set it to the side, and then just mount the 3D printer on top to the conduit directly. Not even worry about putting a flat surface there, unless you need it, of course. But
you're right. That's a good one to show. That's awesome, too, because you don't have to cut the top, and it's not moving on you, right? The printers sometimes will shift and walk on you, but yeah, that's neat. I forgot about that build.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And he said he did that to dampen the vibration, which I haven't tested, and we haven't heard an update yet, I don't think, but he was still building out all the different shelves and things. But if that works, that's a really good idea, because we've talked about, dampening vibration and things in the past.
Yeah. I haven't ever run into that, vibration being a thing with 3D printing. I'm sure if you're doing like high precision models and, really fine tune work, everything I've done has kind of been a little bit gross and not as fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. But yeah, really great idea to kind of elevate it like that. And I mean, it's taking up all that space anyway, so it's like, why even put a top there and go
Right.
through that trouble?
You
Because
got
it's,
cooling. You know,
mm-hmm.
it cools
Oh
the
yeah.
bed better if that's a something you want. I don't even know. But, they're basically using extruded aluminum profile there,
Mm-hmm.
similar to like an 80/20 or something like that. So the mounting options are anywhere on that bottom frame are you can, there's plenty of mounting options.
Yeah. Yeah,
Cool.
really cool. Yeah, that I think your desk looks great. It looks like you've got a lot of good ideas in there, and I mean you're planning out even where the systems are going to go. So that's always a good first step is planning and figuring out where you want to start. So that's really awesome. And if you have any other ideas or anything you want to mention, just post them in the comments, and we'll get back to you. But
Yep, we've got Javier in the chat as well. Hey Javier, great to see you in here again.
nice.
And then Dusty asked, "I need a 3D printer. Are they hard to program? Does it AutoCAD or something?" So, and we've been meaning to kind of dive into this, but there's a lot of good information on YouTube. Basically, if you're printing like a model you already have, and there's plenty of websites to get these pre-made models, then it's really easy. You take the model, you download it, you plug it into your printer. You can almost do it seamlessly like that. There's something called a slicer in between those two steps that you'll need to mess with. And then 3D modeling your own, it's getting easier and easier. A great one is Fusion 360 by Autodesk. That's what we use for all our designing and everything. And it doesn't, you got to invest some time into learning it. Jake, you've been messing around with that at points, right? What do you think about it?
Yeah, I think like you were mentioning earlier, before it was kind of mainstream, it was kind of hard to get into. You had to have a background, I think, of 3D modeling at least, or kind of know what you were doing in that realm. But I think nowadays there's so many free resources. I mean, there's entire YouTube channels who are all focused on helping beginners. I took a course. I'm almost finished with it. It's from Bob from I Like to Make Stuff, the YouTube channel. They did a whole Fusion 360 for Makers course, and I don't think I've reached the 3D printing section yet. It was mostly just 3D printing or 3D modeling in general. But I think they're getting ready to the point in the class, and you can download it anytime. I think it's Fusion 360 for Makers is the name of the course. But it was a really
on YouTube.
You have to buy it.
Oh, you got to buy it.
You have to buy theirs. But usually I do better in like a structured environment for learning things. I'm not as good as kind of just going out and figuring out different things. But if you're a type of learner that's really good at that, then YouTube is definitely an awesome place to go. But for that first foundation, I was using, or I am using that course. I think it's really good, and they're kind of going through. I think we modeled a dresser first, and then I think the next step we're going to turn that dresser into a 3D model if we want to, see the dresser in kind of like a miniature form before actually making it. But yeah, there's definitely tons of free stuff out there. You don't feel like you have to do anything paid because there's just so much on YouTube and things like that.
Yeah, and Autodesk Fusion 360, they do have a free for makers and educators and hobbyists edition. You got to look for it a little bit, but that they do offer a free license. And then you take that model and you put it into the slicer that I was talking about, and that makes the code that makes the 3D printer run. And I really like Cura, Qura. That's one of my favorites that we use.
Nice. Yeah, I was curious. Yes, I don't know. That was a stretch too. I tried. But yeah, we should do more because I mean I'd like to learn as well, 3D modeling and things like that because I think it's pretty cool. I've always wanted to 3D print a cup holder edition because my van doesn't have one, and the other day like the drink fell out and exploded. Anyway.
Oh, that was due to the sizing.
Yeah, I was I was getting something for lunch, and I was pulling out kind of quickly, and it just it just moves around as it is when I'm driving, but there's basically like a circular semicircle in the front, and there's like a tab cut out, and I think there's supposed to be an insert that goes there, but it's 20 years old, so who knows where that is. And as I pulled out, it just, like no resistance, just tipped over, and it was a styrofoam cup, so it just exploded, and I had this entire drink. I hadn't even taken a drink yet in the entire van, and it was just like, I could see just like lakes of lemonade just going all over the place as I was moving around.
Gross.
Yeah, so that was fun. So it's a good way to solve problems like that. You can easily make something and plop it in there.
If you do it.
Right. If you do it, that's the problem. I've been saying I'm going to do that for like 6 months. But
I have heard that before.
But yeah, it's a cool thing. I think we did a video 3D printing to solve problems because we've seen a lot of people in the community, which we'll see here in a few minutes. Actually, one of the next builds or projects utilizes that. But it's a good way to kind of, if you can't find a solution you're looking for, to 3D print and solve a problem. So yeah, that's cool. Awesome, Mark. Thanks for sharing this desk. And like I said, if you have any other questions or need anything else, feel free to reach out.
Yeah, let's see it when you get it finished.
Yeah,
Or along the way. We'd love to see build progress photos.
for sure. And as we didn't really mention, but the backsplash, is as easy. I think you just added a pipe going up. Depending on how much weight the wood's going to be on the backsplash, you could probably just do pipe up here, pipe up on this side, just kind of rectangle it out, and then just, put your flat surface on it to make a backsplash. I guess it depends, how elaborate of a backsplash you're wanting to do. But yeah, really cool desk and love the mini model. Thanks so much for sharing it in the community. Let's see. Next up is a kayak catamaran with outrigger floats. Quadmaran. I don't know a whole lot about catamarans and kayaks and things, but he shared a lot of details. And this is from Aaron. Thanks so much for sharing this. Goal: use 2 existing 14-foot ocean kayaks and make a reliable motorized large platform for fly fishing and trolling lakes and rivers.
Oh my gosh.
So basically,
This is wild.
yeah. So basically, it's 2 14-foot kayaks that he's basically using almost as like the pontoon base.
Yeah.
Because you can't sit in it anymore. Like we saw last week or a couple weeks ago, we saw an actual boat made with rain barrels and things. But this is kind of that same kind of concept, I guess, but it's a lot more elaborate because they're adding a platform they can basically stand on and sit on and fish from. And this is just the beginning. He said he's actually doing his own fiberglass work to put, because I think the outrigger floats basically add kind of a bar that goes out, and then it puts floats. It basically keeps it stable. It's just kind of a stability measure, and people use them just normally for a single kayak just to not tip over. But he said he's going to be doing that, and he's custom making them with fiberglass, and he's doing all kinds of things. It's going to have a 2.5 horsepower outboard motor. The platform's going to be detachable. One person can roll the platform up, secure it in place. He's going to be doing, I think, water seal paint on the pipes and bolts. Loctite 1/2-inch wood platform will be fiberglassed on one side for lightweight, strength, and flex. Be resin coated on the other side. Foam boat flooring. I mean, this is going to be quite the catamaran. It's going to be awesome. Somebody in the chat said party boat, right?
This is the party boat.
Yeah.
Is that Rick?
I think so.
Who's the maker on this?
This is Aaron.
Aaron. Okay. Well, Rick in the chat, he wants to sail on the party boat, and I think we found it.
Yeah, for sure.
This is amazing. I mean, this really gets my mind going, the possibilities here of making a boat out of just some old kayaks.
And this is, the way he's braced this is really truss-like, and it looks really good.
Yeah.
To have this 45 going up and then having another kind of 45 in T that reaches up and grabs it. Like if you can continue that all the way down, I mean, I think it's fine for this, but like if you were doing some kind of lighting truss or something like we've talked about doing, that's a really smart way to do it.
Right. Yeah. Wow. And what's the interface between the kayaks and the conduit? Are those just wooden blocks?
I think so. It looks like they're wooden blocks that are cut out to kind of match the shape of the boat.
Right, because that's the trick. You got it to match the shape of the boat.
And then it looks like,
there you go.
Yeah. Looks like there's like a PVC or something there that maybe it goes down into slightly. Because, I mean, he said he wants to make it where it's easily removable.
Yeah.
So I think you can just slide it out of the wooden slot there and take it off or secure it in place. And then I think he said they add straps over top of it as well.
Oh, too cool.
Yeah, I think. Okay, so yeah. Piece of PVC or
it drops down in there and then it kind of secures from there.
Yeah, and he's made a bunch of them. Oh, and it secures from the other side, so that's really strong. There he is, I think, painting some hardware for it. He said this is just the beginning. He's got plans in the works.
All right.
You can see that those are the floats, the outriggers that you can add. And I mean, he's got all the measurements, the connectors. He's doing some Pythagorean theorem over here. He's going really in depth.
Let's not get into the Pythagorean theorem.
Yeah.
On live.
Yeah, well, flashback to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad that somebody that knows what they're doing is attempting this, because like if I were to go out there and try to do this, I would just be like, all right, let's duct tape some conduit to the kayak. But Aaron's,
I want to see you try.
Yeah, that's a good video. I'm gonna make something that you definitely should not recreate, but you can watch me tip over on. But yeah, it looks like he's got a good plan, and he said, I think it's gonna be a long process of cutting, gluing thin plywood, sanding, fiberglassing, sealing, but it's gonna be crucial to the entire boat with the calculated weight of 2 people and gear. He said he wants to kind of go, I want to complete this process and water test the whole setup before sharing more details. So this is the work in progress design plans.
I think somebody's got an adventure planned. That's
Yeah.
what it sounds like.
I think so. So it's really sweet. It looks like it's coming out great, making good progress. The platform's looking awesome. The attachment method seems secure. So yeah, really great progress. We definitely love to see it when you're finished and as you keep working on it.
Absolutely.
So keep sharing that. But really awesome. Really appreciate you sharing this with us. Really cool build. 2.5 horsepower outboard motor.
Nice.
It's gonna be cool. Thanks again. Next up is a project from Randy, and he said it's been a while since he visited the community. Life gets busy, and today he wants to share a 3D printing hack. So he said that he's used rubber pipe feet from us in the past, and then I think this build, he said he got these off Amazon, but he's had them outside for 2 years. So even though these are from Amazon and not us, I still think ours would probably do something similar after being outside for 2 years.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I just imagine with rubber baking in the sun.
True.
It's I just think it's just the nature of rubber.
Right.
But he's had these on his outdoor deck project for about 2 years, he said. So he's looking for something, instead of replacing them every 2 years, looking for another solution. So he's 3D printed these simple feet that just go on the ends and kind of look like the rubber pipe feet, but they're just made of the filament, 3D printed filament, which is just plastic, and just sits on the end there. It looks nice. And you could do the same thing if you wanted to use end caps, but this kind of adds a little bit more, styling to it. It looks a little bit more like a foot.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And you could even add probably like a rubber, or I guess we're trying to avoid rubber, but maybe like a felt pad or something on the bottom if you wanted to. If you wanted that to, slide across or something like that. Or
depending on the surface. I mean, he's got that deck that it looks like it's perfect for there.
Yeah, for sure. That's really cool. And then he shared the Thingiverse file, which is that's the site I think Dave was talking about a little bit ago, where you can go, you just download files, then you splice it, I think, and then print it.
Yeah, this is a perfect example that like he's done the hard work already.
Mm-hmm.
It's just clicking a few buttons from here.
Yeah.
So Dusty, you can get going with this one.
Yep, this would be a really simple one, I think, to start with.
And this site, Thingiverse, I mean, there is everything on here.
Yeah.
So whatever your heart desires, just search. Chances are somebody's made a model for it already.
For sure. There's probably already an Astrovan cup holder. I just haven't even looked.
Well, type it in there.
All right, let's see. I knew where I found an Astrovan roof rack. Astrovan cup holder. That's probably no results. That's probably a pretty obscure.
Well, I definitely cup holder adapter.
Mm-hmm.
You got those in there.
Yeah, there's probably that. Yeah, so making one specific for a hydro flask, if you wanted to fit the diameter perfectly. Yeah, see, that's exactly
That's what you need.
Yeah, that's exactly what my problem is. Because I have this kind of shape and everything, and it has that tab cut out, but it's just so wide that it doesn't accept like normal drink sizes or really anything smaller.
There you go. There's the start.
Nice. Yeah, that's really cool. For coffee mugs and modular. Oh, it's a modular cup. That's another thing too, being able to adjust it. Like if I was putting like a larger Hydro Flask, and then I wanted to put a tiny little Red Bull can in there, you could kind of adjust it to whatever you frequent.
Have your Red Bull can inserts that you take out of the glove box just for that.
Yeah.
And then you could do a storage rack, like
Oh,
a
yeah.
pegboard of all the different drinks. So like, let me pull out
Nice.
the Monster adapter and throw it in.
Yeah. And somebody's writing with me. These cup holders suck. Oh, give me 1 second. I just pull out and just have this like sleeve of 20 different inserts. Let me just measure the diameter of your cup really quickly.
With calipers.
Yeah, I think I have a solution to it. Just give me a second. Nice.
I like hobbies. I like keyboards, making custom keyboards and drink holder adapters.
Yep. Is this like my dating profile? I make keyboards and cup holder inserts. I like long walks on the beach.
Oh gosh.
Oh, that's funny. But yeah, Thingiverse is one of the, I think, most well-known sites that you could find stuff, and we've done episodes, and we need to do the follow-up to that, which I think is coming next week, where we're going to finally test the 3D printed things that we went over in a live stream from a couple months ago.
Yep.
But yeah, this is great from Randy. Great to see him in the community and sharing this hack.
Yeah, thanks, Randy. Great to hear from you.
Really awesome. Thanks for posting it in the community. Next up is an interesting solution. So this is a kayak rail loading system. So, we've seen people that have roof racks. They build with conduit and they attach it to their existing roof rack. But this is kind of the same thing, except this pipe, there's only one pipe here that's attached to the rails that exist on the roof already. And then from there, they just bent conduit down and created a system that they can basically put the kayak on it, push it up, and just assist in loading it. Because, that is a massive kayak. That's probably, 50 pounds or more than that, you think?
That looks like a heavy one.
Yeah, and it looks pretty heavy. So just trying to, hold this above your head, or, if you're kind of shorter, or if you have two people, or your kids are trying to help you load it up, and it's kind of, off camber, and you're trying to get it up there, that would be quite the process. But this looks like you just put the kayak on it, and then it just goes up the rail and then drops down into place perfectly. All the way at the very top of this bin, just right where it rests on the rack. So, looks like a really great solution. I would probably recommend adding maybe some pool noodles or something on here, maybe just to help protect the kayak a little bit more. Maybe even, shrink wrap might cause it to kind of add some extra friction while you're loading it, but maybe something. Oh, you know what you could do? Maybe put PVC pipe or something on there. Then this might be getting too complicated because it's really simple as it is to just be able to load it. But you could secure the PVC to there somehow, and basically just make a rail system that the PVC is a larger diameter, so it just slides up to the top,
like a linear bearing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like a little tray, not tray. What am I trying to think of? Like a little cart that goes up the rails,
like a
linear
roller
bearings.
coaster kind of thing. On this episode of Jake Overcomplicates a Build,
How to overbuild.
You'd have something simple with two rails and to achieve and solve a problem.
Oh, and then a winch on the top that pulls it up automatically.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
With a wireless remote.
Yeah, but
okay.
Anyway, for two connectors,
they've already solved the problem, and they're on to now they're kayaking.
Yeah, they're happy with it. Bent the rail pipes 90 degrees. They're received by two female fittings on a flat pipe fastened across the roof crossbars. Sets up quick and easy. No need to tighten the pipes in as everything stays in place pressed against the J-hooks. The gear ties are only really needed during travel. So I guess that pipe probably stays in place. This might be a good example of using a coupling to extend the length really easily and quickly. So if you have this, and if you attach it, you could probably just hang it off the top there and it'll run alongside the kayak. But if you wanted to store it inside, maybe you could break this up into 2 or 3 pieces because, it's in an SUV. Break this up into 2 or 3 pieces and then use the couplings. And
that coupling's not going to slide too well, though.
Well, I just mean to break this long pipe up.
Yeah, I know, but to slide the kayak over the coupling.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
One of those internal couplings, thread together one.
Mm-hmm.
Might work out too with the inserts. Mm-hmm. I don't know. We're trying to overcomplicate.
Right.
Is it Gregory's build?
It is. Yeah.
Okay, Gregory's in the chat too.
Oh, Greg.
Awesome, Greg. Thanks for stopping by. He says, it's 60 pounds.
Okay.
That kayak.
Yeah. So that that would be quite the move to get that up there. And this looks like a great solution, and we're just trying to overcomplicate it. So, but it's working for Greg, and he
Yeah.
likes it, and it solves that problem. So that's all you need. So
Way to
that's
go.
yeah, it's really awesome, Greg. Thanks so much for sharing this in the community. I love seeing it. Next up is a follow up from last week. This is from Hank the Tank, or Jason, and we talked about this, but he shared on Facebook in the MakerPipe Facebook group. This is a Pro T over top of two T connectors, and basically it fits over the 3/4 inch T connector shaft.
That's amazing. We didn't even know this.
Yeah, and I think, what's the outside diameter of the 3/4 inch connector? Do you know offhand?
Say that again.
The outside diameter of the 3/4 inch T. I don't know the inside is
One
conduit.
1.16.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well then, yeah. I can't
'Cause
believe yeah, well, because 1 inch conduit's 1.16.
Oh.
Never. I guess
Who
we
would
never
have
really.
thought?
Yeah, we never really put that together. But
Yeah, because it's 0.96 is the 3/4 inch diameter that we made it for, and then 0.1 thick steel.
Mm-hmm.
So 1.16. Yeah,
Well, it's 0.922 for 3/4 inch conduit.
I know, but with the bands we oversize them a little bit.
Oh.
I've always designed it for 0.96.
I see.
No
Well-
one cares about that. Sorry.
But yeah, no, I think it's good information. But yeah, so the 1 inch connectors go over the shaft of the 3/4 inch, and I guess it would probably have to be on probably like the 45 or the T, where you have the kind of the terminating clamp coming out of it. I don't think it would. I don't know how you would really use it over that, unless you like cut out a section of the T. Overcomplicating it again.
Yeah, what are we doing?
I
We're
don't
just looking for a
I
problem
know.
that's not there.
It's like, how can we just make this even more complicated when this is already awesome? So it's just a 1 inch T, the 1 inch EMT T over top of a 3/4 inch T, and it fits. And then you could put conduit in the other pipe. And I think he did this to kind of save space, because otherwise you would have the end of the connector is probably somewhere down here, maybe
Right.
somewhere, and you'd have to add the T on that. So you just add probably like another 1/2 inch to 1 inch of length to this. And he's working inside of a Honda Element. Every inch matters. So that could really take up a lot more space. But the fact that you can do this is a great way to not only adapt 3/4 inch to 1 inch, but save some space if you're trying to get those pipes really close together.
Oh, that's cool. And you can actually throw probably a self-tapping screw through the outside and then drill into the 3/4 inch connector underneath.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that's really cool. So yeah, that's a great hack, and a really smart thing to do that he figured out. And I think he's using it in his bed build. Had some fun playing around integrating 3/4 inch connectors and 1 inch in the same build. It'll fit over the 1 inch T will fit over the 3/4 inch connectors in several places, allowing for some tight configurations. So really awesome, Jason. Really great hack. I could see this being useful for a lot of things. So really appreciate you posting that. And that's all the builds we have. We've also got some questions that we're going to look at here in a second, but that's all the builds we have. Thanks, everybody, for posting the builds, and they're all linked down below if you want to check them out in more detail. But I also wanted to bring up, we've had a few different questions over the last couple of days. Let's pull these up here. We'll start with the oldest one, I think.
And these questions are coming from the community?
Yeah, these were posted either in the community or in the Facebook group that people shared, and I think this one is a mini model. We've also got some just ideas kicking around, I think, for the other two. This one is from Deb, if it will load. Let's see. All right, here we go. This is from Deb, posted in the MakerPipe community on Facebook. Thanks so much. And it says, I need some design input. I have a deck that is very hot. My current shade solution doesn't fit the space. I stumbled upon MakerPipe in my search. With the mini build kit, I made a mock-up of an idea and the needs. I want the shade angled from house towards the deck rail. I want the shade to extend past the railing edge. I want the corner shaded. And so the challenge is the roof corner limits the top height. I came up with this design, not to scale. My thought was rectangular or square, and 2 triangle shades would make a decent trapezoid cover. So I think this is the existing one. And I think Deb is saying it doesn't go all the way to the corner, I believe, there, because you have that angle, I think, from the roof.
And that overhang is an issue?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
and yeah, it looks like a good solution, but it's just kind of an off the shelf kind of solution that doesn't fit exactly what she's after. So I think, you could do probably the same design up to that point, and basically do like maybe a piece of conduit off of that, or actually, I guess if you did a pipe that angled down in the same way, because using T connectors at the very top like this, you could actually make that angled, shade or angled that you were after.
Could we take a look at her model again?
Oh yeah, that's a good that's a good idea. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so it looks like a rectangle in the middle, and then the trapezoid or the triangle coming off of the ends.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that working well there, because I would imagine, you doing that rectangle there in the middle, and then you come off of there and do the triangle on either side. I think that would work pretty well.
Another thing that comes to mind, if what's her name?
Deb?
Yeah, Deb, if you were happy with the shade that you have already there that is pictured, I could see it really easily making two triangle shades that attached and went off of that build. That might be another solution instead of recreating that whole thing. And even though it looks like it's really thick pipe in there that you have, a technique that you might be able to do is run a piece of conduit parallel to those pipes and then strap it to it. So it's like a separate triangle shade, and then you strap it to that shade that you already have. That might be another way to approach it if you didn't want to rebuild the whole thing.
Yeah, and you could do that probably with U-bolts or just some of those wire straps that you can get.
Yeah.
And you could, paint the conduit and everything to match this gray if you wanted to, and attach it there.
Right.
And it looks like this middle pipe comes out. So I wonder if there's like a way to maybe add conduit there to replace that middle pipe and then build off of that. But again, that might be overcomplicating it.
And then go back to the build.
Here's like a wide shot of everything.
Oh, great.
So I can see, yeah, it doesn't really cover very much of that corner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think because you have the deck here, you're able to anchor the conduit to the deck. This is a good conduit. Excuse me. This is a good candidate for 1-inch EMT. Anytime you get one of these shades, it's susceptible to wind. You definitely want to make sure that it's secure, and then you can use the self-tapping screws to anchor it down. But go back to our model, if you don't mind. And I think the idea for the overall structure is good. One thing that I'd say is like the vertical pipes that you have here. Like right there. To make it the strongest possible, if you can keep those runs continuous, so you're not breaking up that piece of conduit going from the bottom to the top, that is often the strongest. So here you have a looks like a 5-way, and if you use the center of that connector where it's the through part and keep that piece of conduit going all the way to the top, that's going to be a lot stronger. And then you could do the same thing on the ends and the corners. Well, that would be a tough thing to do. But another way to do that would be to use, I guess, a T connector going off the end of that pipe, and then grabbing on and keeping and going a little bit higher with the vertical pipe. Because the connector is strongest where it clamps on in the puzzle piece, and that you want to use that to grab on to the vertical support. I think would be the strongest way to do it.
Yeah, and I think like in the back here is a good example. Like you could basically do that same vertical in the front, except then you could flip over the 180. So instead of the through pipe going from side to side, the pipe is just going vertical all the way through the 180 up to the T connector, and then you could break up this horizontal and have one end going out of the 180, and then the other end going out of the 180 to the other side.
Yeah.
And basically achieve the same kind of connection as this 5-way. It's just kind of making the vertical all one piece instead of the horizontal all one piece.
Right. Yeah, and I think the overall concept's great, and you nailed that. Just some of the how to use the connectors, you can improve the strength. And then the only other thing I'd add is I would run some horizontal supports down at the bottom
Hmm.
to kind of brace those legs. That is going to strengthen the whole structure. And although you can tie it into the building, um, you'll have to tie it in less if you run some supports like where you have the railing and against the house and stuff like that.
Hmm. And I think looks like there's some flanges there for this existing structure. So maybe if you take those all the way out and put the new flanges in, and then maybe doing a pipe from side to side there,
Yeah.
is one way, or attaching it to the railing instead of the other side like this one is. But yeah, I think, as Dave was saying, I think that's a great overall plan and framework for it. Um, and I think that'll achieve what you're after. I think that'll look cool too, having the triangles coming off the ends like that.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be a pretty unique structure. And you could really make this dimension as long as you wanted to. And if you wanted to keep it all rectangle, I was going to say maybe you could, once you get here, this back pipe, you can kind of stop here, and then you could run a T connector and kind of, go around the overhang and then into the corner if you wanted to keep it all rectangular. But if you wanted to have that triangular shade cloth, then I think what you've got modeled is a great idea for that. So.
It's cool seeing everybody using the minis
Mm-hmm.
to kind of plan out the builds. I mean, that's exactly what we were hoping people would do.
For sure. Because, I mean, something like this is, going from, okay, I need to take this down or use this or figuring out how to do it. If you're like me and can't draw, or, it's kind of tough to draw 3D models, or for me at least.
Yeah.
Being able to kind of plan out the corners and the connectors and everything, and being able to post that and then ask for help or, critique and things like that. It's a really cool thing. It's really cool to see people doing that. Yeah, I think it's a good frame, and I think the suggestions that Dave made were good. So yeah, if you have any questions, if you want to remodel it and maybe post that, then we can check it out some more. But I think it's a good idea. So thanks for posting that question, Deb. Hope you found that helpful. Next up, we've got a question from Mark, and I think he was asking about adjustable feet and building a shelf unit with my son for his room. Our old house has level challenge floors. That's a good way to say it, level challenged. So I'm thinking of adding leveling feet. The plan is to add threaded hammered inserts into the conduit and then use a 1/4 bolt or a foot that will level out the build and be strong enough to support the bookshelves. So first of all, let's look at the inserts. And I think we've actually done that, and we actually mentioned that in the kind of inserts overview video, which I think, yeah, here it is. We'll check that out in a second. But you definitely, so you can use a 1/20, as you were saying, for the adjustable feet. You definitely want to get the lip with the insert with the lip, because there's a no lip option that kind of goes a little bit farther into the pipe. But if you're putting a lot of weight on it, that can keep pushing in the direction that you install it. Because generally you'll have force pulling it out, and these spring steel kind of leaves will prevent it from pulling out. But if you're trying to keep it from going farther in, then that's where the lipped version comes in. So I think you definitely want to go with the lipped version of the 1/20 insert. And then let's go here and see. We mentioned them in this video. Possible uses, I think, here. Let's see. Yeah, here it is. Oh, no, that's a threaded bolt. Kind of rapid fired these, so.
Yeah, and that's a good example. And that's one that we purchased, a foot.
And I think that, this is the one that he linked to, I believe, as well. So what this allows you to do is, screw in and kind of adjust the level, but it also, has the flexible, the base that will also adjust based on the terrain or, the level and kind of shape you're on.
But these aren't terribly cheap either.
No.
right? So you're looking like $3 each, something like that, $4 each, which might be fine.
Mm-hmm.
And they really are helpful because you can get ones with rubber bottoms and all kinds of different configurations. But like you were saying, just using a bolt
Mm-hmm.
and a nut to secure it,
Right.
you know, it depending on what your floor can take,
Mm-hmm.
that's a good way to do it too.
Yeah, that's true. MKE Gadgets on YouTube, I think, shared how he used them as getting carriage bolts upside down in there, and then putting like rubber, felt
Hockey
pad.
pucks.
Oh
He did
yeah,
hockey
that's
pucks, which
right.
I loved because MK Gadgets has always taken, stuff that is discarded or has a different use and turning it into something cool. So he drilled out hockey pucks, and the hockey puck is the bottom of the foot. So cool.
That's right. I was gonna see if I could pull it up, but I'm not sure. What'd you say?
No, I was just saying like there's a lot of options where you can modify it, but
Mm-hmm.
I think we got those at Lowe's or Home Depot. They're about $3 each. You know,
Yeah,
saves you a whole lot of time making your own hockey puck feet.
yeah. Especially if you got a lot of them laying around. Here it is from MKE. So you can see he's got the carriage bolt here, and he's got that drilled. He drilled out the hole in the hockey puck, and wow, you can see.
They're not easy to drill.
Yeah, I can tell that's.
I mean, rubber in general, but
Mm-hmm. Once he has the hole drilled, the carriage bolt goes through it. Oh, he kind of offset it as well.
I broke on the lathe.
Yeah, which I'm sure you can
Oh,
just.
that's where he's countersinking it
Mm-hmm.
on the lathe. So if you don't have a lathe, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, might be a little bit more involved. And if you don't have a lot of hockey pucks, that may not make
Look at
sense.
that. That's nice.
Yeah, did a real good job with that. But here it is all finished. I think he's got a washer in there. It looks really clean. It looks like it. It looks like a foot like you could buy.
Yeah.
But the carriage bolt goes through. It's offset on the other side, like Dave was saying with the lathe. So the carriage bolt, you don't want that scratching the floor. That kind of defeats the purpose. And then the washer here to secure it all together, and then he just threads that into the insert, and then makes an adjustable foot that way.
Have you seen that viral video? I think it's one of those shorts where somebody uses hot glue to make a foot out of a bolt.
Mm.
I'm gonna murder this to try to describe it, but they take a wrench, that has the end of the wrench that's fully enclosing the nut, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they pour a bunch of hot glue into that the end of the wrench, and then they just stick a bolt with the head down into that.
Huh.
And then they let it cure, and it's like a rubber foot or a hot glue foot.
Wow.
It's it caught my eye as a way to do it.
I don't think I've seen that. I was trying to find it quickly, but I don't see it.
No, I think this falls under us trying to overcomplicate and oversolve. Just go buy the feet.
Yeah, and then that's what he shared originally. He shared this. He shared a link to this style. For some reason, it's not showing up in the community right now, but he shared a link to this style and was asking how it would work. So I think it'll work, and it's good. And I would just, like I said, use the with the lip just to keep that from pushing farther up in there. If you load it down, I mean, it takes a lot of weight to do it. But if you're loading down a bookshelf with books or other things that are heavy, over time you don't want it to just slowly kind of go up in there. So I think with the lips, and I think it'll work great for you.
Yeah, I want to share one other cool hack. That's kind of if you're using rubber feet, the kind that push on to the end of conduit, you can actually put a washer or a quarter in between the bottom of the rubber foot and the piece of conduit to add, whatever the thickness and try to level that way. Problem is, if your floors are really bad, I mean, you're going to be spending $5 to stack those. But that's a neat trick. If it's just off by the littlest amount, go ahead and throw a washer or a quarter in there.
Yeah, good idea. I haven't thought about that. Nice.
That saved my butt a few times.
Cool. So yeah, I think it's a great idea. Just use the inserts with the lip, and I think you'll be just fine. So thanks for. Oh, really? All right. Why did it kick me out? All right, sorry. Give me 1 second. I've never had that happen before where it just kicks me out of Google.
It knew you were live.
Yeah, it only happens in the worst moment. All right, and we're back. Let's see. All right, the last one we have. This is a interesting build. This is a gun stand. So Janine trains retriever dogs for hunt test. I need an outdoor stand on which I can lean my shotgun so it won't fall to the ground. The ends of the stand will need to be able to driven fairly easy into the ground. Any idea on what to put at the end of the conduit and how to attach for ground spikes? Attaches a photo of a commercially available option.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, that seems like a pretty easy thing to do.
Yeah, I think the first one that comes to mind for me is we had somebody recently build, I believe it was a enclosure that they basically hammered into the ground instead of securing it to something because it was kind of out in the yard and it was a freestanding enclosure. And what they did was they used a vise or a hammer to basically just hammer the ends of the conduit and basically turn it into a flat piece at the end, so it just kind of tapers off into a flat end, and that allows them to just easily drive that into the ground. It basically turns the end of conduit into a spike.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you have the ability to hammer that in like that, I think that's an option as well. You could just hammer the end of it, and then you could, add a 180 here to basically make the same foot peg, and then you could, go up, and you could achieve this at the top, I think, pretty easily with, what do you think? Maybe, you could do a 90-degree connector, so it'd be kind of an angled.
Yeah, I would do a 90
out.
degree and have that little corner in there.
We saw with a plant stand a couple of weeks ago, somebody did that where the 90 went out and then had the two pipes coming out, and it made that triangle that the pot could sit in.
Yeah.
Do that same kind of thing. Do you have any other ideas for staking it in the ground?
Well, my go-to for any time I need to put conduit into the ground is I get a metal stake called a rebar pin that's available at Lowe's or Home Depot, and I hammer that in and then slip over the conduit on top of that. And that might not be the easiest in this case. It looks like you want something that's quick and easily movable. It just adds another step, but it's a great way to not have to drive conduit itself into the ground, but put a post in and then slide it over. I really like that method. But I think you're right. The problem with conduit is that blunt end always gets messed up if you have any rocks in the soil or anything, right? So squishing it, cutting it at an angle, that's going to make it easier to drive into the ground.
Yeah. And I think that's probably easier, I guess, depending on if you have a vise or, the time to hammer it flat. But this is the hack that Dave's talking about. This is a throwback. This is almost 2 years ago.
If you didn't have to move it often, I would do this for sure.
Mm-hmm.
This would be the way that I would do it.
Yeah. So this is basically, let me go back just a tad. You can see hammering it in, I think. This is just a stake. You can get it Lowe's, Home Depot. It's pretty inexpensive.
Yeah, a couple bucks.
Yeah, just a few dollars for, I think you can get like an 18-inch one. And then it's just, just like a stake you would imagine. And you just hammer it into the ground, and then the conduit fits over top of it, as you can see. And it creates hello, Jake.
Which bears the question, can you just put a connector on that stake and forget about the conduit, or forget about, the conduit? Or permanently pin it, and attach it to the stake, and then just drive the stake in with the conduit in it. Because the problem is the conduit will bend sometimes and get all messed up, right? That's the issue. So maybe you can integrate the two.
Imagine you did like a coupling at the bottom, and then you shimmed the coupling down to the stake. So you could create that vertical.
They get stuck anyway. These pins, they'll get a little bit of dirt on the outside, and they'll get stuck. So you could wrap some tape around it, put it on the inside of the conduit, and then you would always have that stake on the bottom.
Nice. There's a lot at stake. There's no mistake. That's a good idea. Okay.
I don't know how to respond.
I know. Last time I went off on a tangent and just derailed the whole conversation. But I think if you like Dave was saying, if you're going to leave it in place or it's going to be, in the same space for, a few days or something like that, then I think this option of hammering the stake into the ground, putting the conduit over it, or as Dave was saying, attaching the stake to the conduit, or kind of shimming the difference and just leaving the stake in there at all times, or creating your own stake by just at the end of this conduit vertical, hammering the end or squishing it with a vise, and then hammering that in so it acts as a stake.
Right.
And
Or make like a tripod, an easily deployable kind of tripod situation.
Mm-hmm.
That might be something to consider too. I don't know. I've used MakerPipe on the range, but for all target stuff, I've never had a rack like this or a stand like this.
You definitely something you want to make sure is super secure in the ground, because that's the whole point, is to keep the shotgun from falling over. So making sure that's strong, secured in the ground, for sure, with a stake or whatever method you use. It'd be cool if there was some kind of stake or something that you could thread into the threaded inserts, which I'm sure they're. I mean a bolt, but you'd want something longer than that probably. But again, that's probably overcomplicated. So yeah, I think that's a good idea, and that's a cool build. Cool that trains dogs for hunt tests. So yeah, sweet. I think that's all the build help we've had from the past week, but this is fun. We don't know everything, but it's always fun to help where we can with builds. So if you have something that you want to ask, you can reach out to us, of course, through email or something. But posting in the community is another way, and we'll definitely try to help where we can. But yeah, I think that's all the builds we have, all the questions we have for this week. So thanks everybody for coming by and hanging out with us and checking out some builds and ideas. Thanks everybody for posting your projects. As always, really appreciate it, and keep them coming. We love checking them out. And yeah, thanks everybody for stopping by.
Yep. Have a great week. Thanks everybody.
All right. Have a good one. Have a good week. See you later.